When they look at you, they don't just see a person, they see a reflection of everything they could be but chose not to be. They see strength that makes them question their own weakness. They see a light that makes their shadows impossible to ignore. They see confidence that reminds them of every moment they doubted themselves. You carry an energy that can't be hidden. It speaks before you even open your mouth. It tells them you are different. It tells them you do not belong to the ordinary, that you were never made to fit into the molds they tried to force upon you. And that difference unsettles them. When they stare, what they really see is a mirror, and in that mirror, all the ways they have stayed small. They see every excuse they have ever made, every dream they abandoned, every version of themselves they never became. And because they cannot admit that truth, they project their discomfort onto you. You were chosen not because life handed you everything, but because life tested you and you refused to break. You were chosen because you carry resilience in your bones, because your silence is louder than their noise, and because your very existence is proof that not everyone is meant to settle. Understand this, the uneasiness you stir in people is not your burden. It is their awakening. It is their soul recognizing what it has lost. You walk into a room and shift the atmosphere because energy cannot lie. You carry presence, not performance. You don't need to demand attention. You draw it effortlessly because truth is magnetic. But here's the thing, not everyone will clap for the chosen ones. Many will resent it, misunderstand it, even try to diminish it. They will twist your power into arrogance, your clarity into coldness, your boundaries into pride. Yet none of that changes what they really see, and what they see is undeniable. They see the quiet discipline that built you. They see the scars that became strength. They see a soul that refused to bow down to mediocrity, and whether they admit it or not, they are moved by it. Chosen ones don't need validation. They don't need to be liked. They were never here to blend in. They were here to remind the world of what is possible, to show that even in a world drowning in conformity, there are still people brave enough to stand alone. So the next time their eyes linger on you, remember, they are not just looking, they are witnessing. They are witnessing courage, truth, and purpose embodied. They are witnessing what they could have been had they chosen differently. And that is why they will never see you as ordinary, because you never were. When people look at you, they're not just seeing you, they're seeing themselves reflected back at them in a way that makes them uncomfortable. They see a version of life they didn't choose. They see every time they settled, every time they said no when their soul whispered yes. Every time they allowed fear to win, and then they look at you standing there unapologetic, carrying an energy that doesn't bend and it shakes them to their core. You have to understand something. Most people live their lives shrinking. They live small, they speak small, they dream small, they convince themselves that it's safer this way, easier this way. They build a life out of excuses and call it practicality. And then you walk into the room with your silence, with your aura, with your energy that doesn't scream but still demands attention. And suddenly they feel naked. Suddenly they realize just how much they've hidden from themselves. That's why when they look at you, there's a tension in their eyes. They can't quite meet your gaze for too long. They'll compliment you, yes, but there's always that undercurrent of uneasiness because your presence forces them to confront the truth they've buried, the truth that they could have been more, the truth that they had the same opportunities to choose courage, discipline, and strength, but they chose comfort. You carry a light, but light always exposes shadows. And when you shine, you don't just illuminate yourself, you illuminate their darkness too. That's why some people can't stand you without even knowing why. That's why some will label you cold, arrogant, too much, intimidating. It's not really about you. It's about what you trigger inside of them. You're the reminder of their unlived potential. And this is why being chosen feels lonely, because when people look at you, they're not applauding what they see. They're wrestling with it. They're comparing, they're measuring, they're feeling the weight of their own compromises. And you just existing, just breathing in your truth become the mirror they didn't ask for. But here's the beauty of it. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to apologize for the discomfort your presence brings. You were never put here to make others comfortable. You were put here to wake them up, whether they want to be awakened or not. Your energy is a silent challenge, a silent reminder. You could have been here too if you had chosen differently. Do not mistake their stares for judgment. Do not mistake their silence for rejection. When they look at you, they are processing. They are seeing strength wrapped in stillness. They are seeing a person who refused to bow down to mediocrity. They are seeing the evidence that it's possible to be unshakable, possible to rise above everything they told themselves they couldn't survive. And maybe they'll never admit it. Maybe they'll disguise it as jealousy. Maybe they'll call it dislike. Maybe they'll distance themselves. But deep down, they know what they saw. They know they looked at you and felt the pull of something greater. They know you stand as a living reminder that they settled while you chose. So let them look. Let them feel the weight of what they see. Let them sit with that reflection, even if it makes them uncomfortable. Because in the end, that's not your burden. That's their awakening. You were chosen to shine, not to dim yourself for the comfort of others. You were chosen to carry a presence that speaks louder than words, to remind people, even silently, of what's possible when you refuse to break. And maybe, just maybe, someone will finally see you, and instead of running from that truth, they'll let it inspire them. They'll take that mirror and decide to rise too, because that's what your presence does. It shakes people awake. It forces them to choose keep hiding or finally step into who they were meant to be. That is what they really see when they look at you. And that is why you can never afford to shrink. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will clap for you. In fact, most people won't. And that's the weight of being chosen. The moment you decide to rise above the ordinary, you're no longer just living for yourself. You're triggering something in everyone who watches you. And the truth is, many people cannot handle it. Being chosen attracts resistance, not because you've done something wrong, but because your very existence forces people to feel what they've tried so hard to ignore. When you choose discipline, when you choose strength, when you choose to walk away from what doesn't serve you, you're breaking the cycle that they're still stuck in. And instead of looking at themselves, it's easier for them to look at you and call you the problem. They'll tell you you've changed. They'll whisper that you think you're better. They'll call you selfish for protecting your peace, arrogant for valuing yourself, intimidating for daring to take up space without asking for permission. But what they're really saying is this: your strength makes me uncomfortable. Your boundaries remind me of the ones I never had the courage to set. Your clarity highlights my confusion. Your growth exposes my stagnation. And this is why you'll face resistance. Because chosen ones aren't here to blend in. You were never meant to sit quietly at the table, nodding along, agreeing just to be liked. You were meant to flip the table, to stand in truth, even when truth costs you acceptance. That's why when you start rising, people will push back. They'll question your choices, try to minimize your progress, even attempt to drag you back into the box you broke out of. But understand this: resistance is proof. Proof that you are walking the right path. Proof that your presence is powerful enough to disrupt the illusions around you. If people are uncomfortable with your light, it's because their eyes are not ready for brightness. If people resist your strength, it's because they fear facing their own weakness. Think about it. When you used to settle, when you used to hide your voice, when you used to shrink yourself so that others could feel comfortable, no one complained, no one resisted. You were accepted, tolerated, even liked. But the moment you decided that you were no longer willing to live below your potential, everything changed. That's the cost of stepping into power. You'll lose the approval of the ones who only love the version of you that stayed small. Resistance is part of the process. You cannot grow and expect applause from those who fear growth. You cannot rise and expect encouragement from those who never tried. And you cannot be chosen and expect the world to understand why you don't fit in because you weren't meant to. You see, the world needs chosen ones, but the world doesn't always welcome them. People want truth, but they resist the person who speaks it. People crave authenticity, but they resent the one who refuses to wear the mask. People long for light, but they shield their eyes from the one who shines it too brightly. That's the paradox, that's the reality, and that's why being chosen will often feel like walking alone. But don't be fooled. Resistance doesn't mean rejection by life. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're a disruptor. It means you're breaking patterns that have existed for generations. It means you're carrying energy that unsettles the comfortable and awakens the sleeping. And that's why people push back. That's why they'll project. That's why they'll try to reduce you. So when the whispers come, when the stares linger, when the resistance rises, don't let it shake you. Don't water yourself down to ease their discomfort. Don't apologize for being the reminder they didn't ask for. Because your job is not to be understood. Your job is to be authentic. Your job is to walk your path with strength, even if it means walking alone. Remember, diamonds are formed under pressure. Warriors are forged in resistance. And chosen ones, they are revealed not in the moments they are celebrated, but in the moments they are doubted, resisted, and misunderstood. So let them resist. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Because none of it changes the truth. None of it changes who you are. And none of it changes why you were chosen. They can project, they can gossip, they can even try to tear you down, but what they cannot do is erase what you carry inside. They cannot dim the light that was placed within you. They cannot undo the discipline, the scars, the lessons that built you. They cannot rewrite the purpose written on your life. Resistance is only noise, and if you keep walking, if you keep rising, if you keep standing unshakable, that noise fades, because truth doesn't need defending, power doesn't need permission, and chosen ones don't need acceptance. You were chosen, and that means no amount of resistance can stop you. Chosen ones don't need validation. That's the difference. That's what separates you from the rest. Most people move through life chasing applause, chasing recognition, desperate for someone to tell them they are good enough, worthy enough, strong enough. But you don't need that. You were built differently. You learned that external approval is fragile, it shifts, it disappears the moment you stop pleasing people. And you understood early on that living for the eyes of others is the quickest way to lose yourself. Validation is a trap. It feels good in the moment when someone praises you, when they notice you, when they call you successful. But the problem is, once you rely on it, you'll always need more. You'll shape yourself to earn it. You'll water yourself down to keep it. You'll silence your truth to protect it. And in the end, you'll forget who you are. That's why chosen ones walk a different path. They don't ask for permission. They don't wait for approval. They create their own standard, their own definition of success, their own worth. People won't always clap for you. Some will stay silent. Some will roll their eyes. Some will even hope you fail. And if your identity rests in their validation, you'll break under the weight of it. But chosen ones don't break. They keep going, even when no one notices. They keep pushing, even when no one is cheering. Because they understand validation doesn't build character. Silence does. Resistance does. Loneliness does. Chosen ones are not here to fit in. They are not here to be liked by everyone. They are not here to collect approval. They are here to live authentically, to stand for something, to embody truth, even if the price of truth is rejection. You can't carry light and expect everyone to welcome it. Some people will hate you for shining. Some people will call your confidence arrogance, your peace indifference, your independence selfishness. But none of it matters because you know who you are without them. Think about it. If every compliment disappeared tomorrow, if every hand that clapped for you fell silent, would you still keep going? If the answer is yes, then you've already stepped into the strength of a chosen one. Because chosen ones move from inner conviction, not out of validation. They don't rise because people tell them to rise. They rise because they were born to. And that's what makes you untouchable. People can misunderstand you, misjudge you, criticize you, but they cannot define you. Their labels don't stick. Their silence doesn't weaken you, and their disapproval doesn't stop you. Because you've detached from the need to be seen. You've detached from the hunger for applause. You've detached from the illusion that your value depends on how others treat you. That's why you walk differently. That's why your energy feels different. Because you don't need anything from them. You're not begging for recognition. You're not chasing for love. You're not bending to be accepted. You stand as you are, whole within yourself, grounded in your own truth. And people feel that. That's why they look twice when you walk by. That's why they can't quite put their finger on it. They're so used to people seeking validation that when someone doesn't, it feels like power. But don't confuse this with arrogance. This is not about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing you don't need others to confirm your worth. It's about understanding that their opinion is not your compass. It's about walking through life free from the chains of approval. The world teaches you to chase validation, to post for likes, to work for titles, to perform for applause. But chosen ones, Learn that the greatest validation is living in alignment with who you really are. Waking up every day knowing you didn't betray yourself. Going to sleep at night knowing you honored your truth. That is freedom. That is power. That is why you were chosen. So stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for someone to clap before you move. Stop shrinking yourself, hoping someone will notice. Move without applause. Shine without recognition. Grow without approval. Because in the end, validation fades, but truth endures. Applause dies, but purpose remains. And chosen ones live for purpose, not performance. One day, the same people who doubted you will claim they always believed in you. One day, the same voices that stayed silent will speak your name with respect, but you won't need it because you never needed it. You didn't rise because of them. You rose in spite of them. Chosen ones don't need validation because they already carry something greater. They carry clarity. They carry strength. They carry resilience. They carry the quiet knowing that they are enough, even if the world never says so. And that is what makes them unstoppable. Because when you no longer need to be validated, nothing and no one can take away your power.